What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well on this Wednesday. And we got to talk a little bit more about JSN. I know the last couple of weeks have been a little less over the top with him. I know that he hasn't put up the otherworldly numbers these last couple of games, although the Falcons game was quite good. But it's kind of easy to look at games like the games that he just had, and I even include the Atlanta game in that and feel like, oh, he's falling off. And let's face it, he set such a high standard over the first few months of the season that it was going to be an impossible act to follow. So I understand that people are kind of losing interest because he's now off pace for a 2,000-yard season. He's off pace to break the record. But one thing that has happened in the last few weeks is he has now become a large favorite to win NFL Offensive Player of the Year. All right, guys, let's take a minute so I can tell you guys about Sleeper. I'll tell you a little secret as well. It's more than just a platform for fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users have enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but there's so much more to it. You have live stats, real-time updates of all stats. You have a news feed with lightning-fast updates on players and teams, and a real-time chat where you can engage with other users about plays, performances, games, all kinds of stuff during the sports season. So download Sleeper, experience it for yourself, and don't forget to use my promo code SBN to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit, and pair that with their new promo that will give you a free $20 entry, no deposit needed. So you can use both of those promos. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and going. So check out Sleeper today and use those promos. If you go to Vegas Insider right now, and Vegas Insider gives you odds on a bunch of different locations, so you can kind of get a feel for what the consensus is. As of right now, JSN is considered a very significant favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year. He's getting about negative 350. He's got a negative 380, negative 370. So if you average it all out, it's going to be somewhere around negative 350. And that's, for those of you who don't know some gambling parlance, although I think most people have kind of been, they've kind of been forced to understand this stuff because gambling stuff is all over every single, not only NFL broadcast, but sports broadcast in the world right now. It means that he is considered to be a big favorite to take it home. So right now, he is running away with it. And it's not just one site, it's basically all of them. So JSN looks like he's going to get it. We got 4 games left. Things can change, things can flip. But as of right now, he is in the catbird seat, and that would be pretty cool. You look at NFL history, you go through NFL history. This has happened once before. A Seahawk has won offensive player of the year one time in the history of the NFL, and it was in 2005 when Shaun Alexander was league MVP. He also got offensive player of the year. So he won't be the first Seahawk to win it if he wins it, but he will be the second and, of course, the first one in 20 years. And he will also be one of the first, receivers winning offensive player of the year doesn't happen very often. In recent years, you have had a few. You've had Justin Jefferson, you've had Cooper Kupp, you had a couple years before then, you had Michael Thomas. But then, if you want to find another receiver, you have to go all the way back to the 90s with Jerry Rice doing it once. And then he also did it once in the 80s. And that's it. No other receivers here because the award only goes back to 1972. And you can see it's almost always a quarterback or a running back. So there is an uphill battle for any wide receiver to take this award home. And it is very cool that JSN is the guy to pull it off because again, you consider what it takes for a receiver to do it, right? Cooper Kupp literally won the Triple Crown and had maybe the greatest overall season in NFL history by any receiver. Michael Thomas, I think he broke the reception record in 2019. He had like 150 catches or something crazy. And of course, Jerry Rice, the greatest of all time, won it twice, but I mean, he's the greatest of all time. And look, regardless of what has happened in the last couple of games, as of right now, Jaxon Smith-Njigba is on pace to give you, according to the ESPN projection, which is purely mathematical, he's on pace to give you 116 catches, which is by far the franchise record, and 1,867 yards, which is top five all time for any single season receiver. In fact, I think it's third all time. Maybe it's like fourth or fifth. I can't remember 100%. And by the way, don't forget his rushing stats. He's on pace to give you about 50 rushing yards, which would mean that it adds up to 1,900. He would be only the third player in NFL history who plays wide receiver to amass over 1,900 total yards from scrimmage in one season. So even with the slight slip, there is a very good possibility that he does something that only two players in NFL history have ever done, and he's in range to still break that record. So awesome stuff happening here. Very happy to see it. Hope that it happens. And you look at his primary competition. Well, you've got now Jahmyr Gibbs in second place, a distant second place. And then the odds-on favorite pretty much the whole year, Jonathan Taylor, has fallen off to third place. Now, you want to talk about Jonathan Taylor for a little bit. It's pretty obvious what happened, right? I mean, after a start to the season where it legitimately looked like he was going to have one of the greatest yard from scrimmage seasons of all time, on top of 20 plus touchdowns. And he could still do the touchdown thing, by the way, but there has been a pretty significant fall off here. Just to give you an idea of how badly Jonathan Taylor's production has fallen off, he had a almost 300-yard game against Atlanta in the Berlin game. And over his last 5 games, he is still just barely averaging 120 yards from scrimmage a game, because he did basically nothing against Pittsburgh. He did basically nothing against Kansas City, had a better game against Houston, but still not anything over the top amazing. And then Jacksonville, not really much to say. So there has been just a complete and utter fall off here. If you look at the early part of the season, pretty much every game, he's grinding it out. He's doing really great things. He's getting in the end zone a lot. He's having these big games on a pretty routine basis that are just completely blowing up his average. And over the last 5 games, he's had one monster game. And other than that, he's just been kind of whatever. And as of right now, he's only projected to reach about 20, not even 2,200 yards from scrimmage. And here's the thing. The Colts, they still have to play Houston one more time, best defense in the league by at least points per game. And I don't think that I think everybody would agree that the Houston Texans at least have a top 3 defense in the NFL, with Seattle and LA in the other 2 spots. And they also have to play Seattle, and I believe they have, they have the Niners as well. Now, the Niners are not very good against the run, but they're still a good team that could get a big lead and force Jonathan Taylor kind of out of the Colts game plan. And there's obviously a much bigger thing at play here with Jonathan Taylor. The Colts don't have a quarterback now, so how is he going to be productive on the ground when teams are going to stack the box and dare Riley Leonard or Phillip Rivers or Brett Rippon to beat them, knowing that those guys are not going to be able to beat them? It's going to be very hard for him to do anything. And it's the projection is close to 2,200 yards from scrimmage. It's probably going to end up being closer to 2,000 for a few different reasons. And you go through the history of the NFL and look at historical 2,000-yard from scrimmage seasons, it actually happens all the time. Not that it isn't a very impressive accomplishment, but how many times has a player in the history of the NFL had 2,000 plus yards from scrimmage? The number's actually 74 times. So it happens a lot. And it's not that special, especially now with a 17-game season. It's something that you would expect to see probably a couple of times a year. So while it is great, it's not something that is going to make everybody Yet, they're not everybody in the world is going to look at that and go, "Oh wow, we have to give every award in the book imaginable to that guy because he had 2,000 yards from scrimmage." And Jahmyr Gibbs, now he's on track to have about 2,000 yards from scrimmage as well, and about 21 touchdowns at the current rate that he's at. He's averaging 5.7 yards a carry, which is better than Jonathan Taylor. Now Taylor's leveled off to a 5.5, but obviously that's really good as well. I'm not taking anything away from that. I don't think anybody would. Jahmyr Gibbs in the conversation for best running back in football. I think PFF has him as number one. But again, this is something that you kind of expect to see at least once or twice in the league every year. A 2,000-yard season, somebody having over 20 touchdowns. It's great. It should probably put you on the all-pro team. It marks you as one of the best running backs in the league for that year. But like I just said, there have been 74 seasons in the history of the NFL where a player has gone over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. But how often has it happened with a wide receiver going over even 1,900? The answer is it's happened twice. It happened with Cooper Kupp. It happened with Calvin Johnson. That's it. That's the end of the line here. If you want to find other wide receivers here, you have to scroll for a little bit. You get Jerry Rice at just under 1,900, but it it's very rare and it's very special. So even though JSN is probably going to end up with like 12 touchdowns, that's his current pace, and he's going to have fewer yards from scrimmage than Taylor or Gibbs, it's far more standout. JSN doing what he's doing, especially in the offense that he's doing it in, by the way, where the team doesn't really throw the ball, is something that you might see once in a generation. So yeah, JSN, he certainly should win it at this point. And remember, he's got games against good teams coming up here, which means, unlike these last couple of games, his team is going to be forced to throw the ball throughout the game. So he should have more opportunities here. That's another big element here, right? The Vikings and Falcons, one thing that those two teams did is get blown out and get left in the dust so quickly that there was no point in throwing the ball in the fourth quarter, and he basically didn't even get looked at in those fourth quarters. And in the case of the Vikings game, that game was over in the third quarter, and there just was no point in belaboring a game that was already won when the Vikings were, to be perfectly honest, doing some great things defensively. So JSN didn't get any looks these last couple weeks late in the game. And that's going to be really important here. Now, maybe it happens this weekend against a Colts team playing who the heck knows at quarterback, but you've got the Rams, maybe the best team in the league. You've got the Panthers, who are very good at home, and we're playing them at home. And you've got the 49ers, who, I mean, they don't go down easy at the very least, right? I know that they're beating bad teams almost exclusively right now, but even if you acknowledge that, you also have to acknowledge they do not go down easy. So that should be opportunities for JSN to put up video game numbers once again. All right. Everybody have a good rest of your day. More videos coming. Let me know what you guys think. Gonna be a cool accolade to add to the cabinet here. Also, by the way, one other element. JSN's making the playoffs. Gibbs might, right? Gibbs has a decent shot, but it's certainly not set in stone. Jonathan Taylor at this point is almost certainly not making the playoffs. That's a part of it as well. That helps. So that's another element at play here in favor for JSN. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos coming soon. Let me know what you think. JSN, hope you get it. And awesome stuff, man. Keep doing what you're doing.